We're going to talk about the back squat, but before we do that, to the side of the screen, you'll see me performing the movement. This is what the back squat should look like. We're going to cover 4 areas: the setup, the movement, some alternative exercises, as well as a little bit about injury prevention. So we're going to quickly set you up with the back squat. The first thing you want to do is get the bar set up to around about mid-chest height. So position the J-hooks in the rack, or if you're using a rack that's situated, place the bar. So the bar sits around about mid-height. That's the correct setup with regards to the height of the bar. When it comes to getting under the bar, hand position can go wherever feels comfortable. The closer you are, the more locked in the bar will feel on your back. The further out you are, you may feel a little bit of instability. So let's get the hand positioning right first. For me, hand width is quite wide because of mobility. We're going to step into the bar, duck under, feet are going to be placed under the bar. We're going to lift the bar up and then take a step back out of the rack. So the bar is actually situated on the lower parts of my traps. So now this is a comfortable position. We're going to do some warm-up sets with the bar first, then you'll proceed to load weight and then move on accordingly. So the warm-up sets, you're going to look at a few things. Foot positioning wants to be just outside of shoulder width. You can go slightly narrower. Knees will travel forwards, which is perfectly fine. A slight 11 and 1 turn on the feet will keep the knees turned outwards. And as you go to perform the movement, you want to be sitting down and back. Don't bend first and then try and sit. Don't push the knees forwards and then try and sit. It all wants to happen at one time. Engage the glutes, sit back, and as you go down, you want to break parallel, so which is slightly lower than that. This is the depth you want to be looking for, and then back up. Again, and back up. Okay, I'm going to re-rack the bar and just run through the setup. Bar, chest height, foot position wants to be just outside of shoulder width. Slight 11 and 1 turn on the feet. Keep the glutes engaged, keep those knees turned slightly outwards, and get that bar situated on your lower traps. Everything from here will get you set up to do the squat. So we're going to talk about the movement in itself. There's mainly 3 key areas that you want to be focusing on. There's the hips, the knees, and the ankles. If your ankles are tight, chances are this is going to give you tightness in your calves, tightness in your Achilles tendon. This is going to bring the heel up as you start to squat. We don't want that. We want to try and keep that heel down. So we might need to do a little bit of mobility work to get those calves stretched out and that Achilles stretched out. Next is the knee. If you feel like there's some knee pain, there's a couple of things that could be happening. Those toes could be coming up, putting more load into the knees. You could also be knee engaging first, so bending the knees to try and then squat. Again, we don't want to be doing this. When we do get some knee pain, chances are it's something to do with the quad. Always go above or below for the problem. So look what's going on around the area. If there's tightness in the quad, it could be pulling on the knees. So let's get those quads worked, get those quads freed up, and we can move forward from there. And if we're getting to the hips and we're feeling a little bit stiff in the hip, could be groin, could be hamstrings, could be glutes, could be lower back. Again, make sure you're mobile enough in all of these areas to perform this movement specifically, because you're not just working one exercise, you're not just working one muscle when you do this. There's a lot that's embraced, there's a lot that's engaged, there's a lot of muscle groups that are working all simultaneously in one go. So think about your ankles, think about your calves, think about your knees, think about your hips, hamstrings, quads, glutes, lower back. All of these matter when it comes to performing this movement specifically. That's why it's one of the best for all-round development. So speaking about the movement then, as you go down, there's a few key things with regards to height. So the first thing you're going to be looking at is, without using the bar to demonstrate any of this, you don't want to be bending the knees first and then sitting down. You don't want to bend at the hip and lean forwards and then sit down. You want to do this all at the same time together. So you break at the hip and you bend at the knee. Foot positioning for me is just outside of shoulder width. You can go wider. When you go wider, you generally tend to get a little bit more depth because you can drop the groin lower to the ground. But again, those knees might try to turn inwards a little bit, called knee valgus. If that happens, we need to get the mobility back and the strength up in the outer glutes to keep those knees turned out again. So by doing so, we're going to set the feet up. For me, it's just outside of shoulder width, 11 and 1 on the position of the feet. And I'm going to make sure that I'm turning my feet so I've got 3 points of contact in the foot, the balls of the feet, the heel of the foot, and the outside of the foot. So we're looking at 3 points of contact on both feet. That's going to give a nice arch in the bottom of the foot. We want to keep the arch there. If we drop the arch, the knees will turn inwards. This might cause some knee pain. So by doing so, Keep those feet turned. As then we go to break, we're going to break at the knee and at the hip at the same time. And by doing so, we sit down and back. So we're going to go down. That's the movement that you're looking for. Break at the knee and the hip at the same time. Now, as you travel down, some people's knees will come forwards over the feet. Perfectly fine. This is all about biomechanics. If you've got a long femur, you will get that knee traveling forwards. It is not a problem at all. So as you break at the hip and the knee, you're going to go down. You're going to go to about parallel, which is the hip to the knee. If you can get lower, great. But what you're looking for is try not to round the back to get lower. Keep a good form and posture. That spine wants to be nice and neutral all the way down the back. And then as you then go to drive back up, push down into the floor to come back up. Try not to push the bar up as you come up because you'll get rounding of the back, the bar will move around at the bottom of your traps, everything becomes a little bit unstable and the knees will start to turn in and out as well. We're trying to avoid all of that, so keep it nice and clean all the way through. Some alternatives that you can use instead of doing the back squat. So if you're not able to squat or maybe you feel a little bit unstable with squatting, a leg press, a great alternative. You can use different variations of leg presses. Plate loaded, cable loaded, 45 degrees, horizontal. There are numerous different types of leg presses that you can use for this. Another one would be something like a goblet squat or even dumbbell squats. So holding dumbbells either side, again squat down, goblet squat, holding the dumbbell in front of you, again squat down. If all of these are out of the question, it's not the end of the world. Does this exercise help? Yes, massively. It's probably one of the most time efficient exercises you can perform with it being a compound movement. But aside from that, the thing that you really want to be focusing on is if you can't do it now, work towards trying to work it into an exercise. Work it towards trying to build it into a training program. Reason being is because just because you can't do it now doesn't mean you can't do it later. If you do look to try and do something like a squat, spend time doing it right. Don't rush up low trying to get, Instagram famous, let's say. The reason why is because this is one of the most beneficial movements that you could do in regards to building an all-round better physique, but it's not just about the physique. This is going to improve bone density, muscle density, stability, core improvement. There's going to be it's fundamental. So work towards including this exercise into any training program. If you can't do it previously, work towards mobility first, just the bar, small plates on the bar. Make sure you're always using safety collars on the ends as well. Make sure you stay safe. I'm going to talk about some of the accessories that you can use along the way to try and make this a little bit more stable and a little bit more pain-free. Okay, last but not least, injury prevention. So the biggest thing with injury prevention when you come and look at any exercise is more about the mobility that you spend in the pre-workup to the movement in itself. So this could be things like pre-engaging muscle groups, making sure that full range of movement's achieved, making sure there's no tightness in tendons. If you've been training previously and then you've got an exercise that's new in a program and maybe it feels a little bit off, chances are you may have some stiffness from earlier on in the week that you need to just work through to open that range of movement back up again. By doing so, there are a few things that you can do. Full-blown, full-body mobility routines. You could do lower routines on lower days, upper routines on upper days, but I encourage you to do these on every single training day. Do not walk into a gym, make a beeline straight for the squat rack, and jump straight in there and start loading plates up. You can go in and do warm-up sets, which are kind of mobility engaging too, but you'd probably spend a little bit longer on the warm-up sets. The reason being is because the warm-up set is crucial for programming the range of movement. If you go in and everything's tight, you're going to go in and everything's going to feel a little bit disjointed. You're not going to be able to perform the range of movement correctly. You're going to feel unbalanced, and chances are stability isn't going to feel great either at the same time. But if you go in and open the range of movement up, you're ready and primed to really start loading the bar effectively and as efficiently as possible. So think about this when you're moving forwards is, am I ready to go and lift a specific weight, or do I need to re-engage or engage muscle groups first? Think about injury prevention. We're looking to keep the knees safe. We're looking to keep the ankles safe. We're looking to keep the hips and the lower back safe. By doing this, there are things that we can use. Things like knee sleeves, knee wraps. You can look at boots. So the reason why I'm wearing the boot today is because a flat boot for something specific like squats or even a leg day, the flatter the sole, the better. Reason being is because you want to be as close to the ground as possible on a sturdy base. Do not try and squat in running trainers, anything with thick foam on the base of them, because it's going to create a lot of instability when you're trying to lift and load this bar. And that's going to create a problem when you're trying to squat and everything's feeling unbalanced on the way down. Things like knee wraps can help, but again, you've got to look at, am I taking away a problem or adding to the problem? A knee wrap's going to be great, but you're also going to have a little bit of restriction when you start bending at the joints again too. So do you kind of take away some of the range of movement when those knee wraps and sleeves are so tight? Maybe, depends on the person. Same with belts, so lifting belts. A belt is great. It's going to help you, but so long as you know how to brace against the belt and also what you're using the belt for. The belt positioning matters too, so the lower or higher it is, depending on where the abdomen contracts against the belt, feels more comfortable. But also when you bend, that actually has an impact on how that belt's being used in the sense of how it's bracing the core. So don't just go and throw a belt on because you've seen somebody lifting and you think it's going to get rid of the problem. It won't. You need to work on core development, stop that lower lumbar moving and tucking underneath, and that's when it's going to cause the back problems. And get everything mobile and moving. So the hamstrings are a big cause as to why the lower back pain starts to kick in, because it's pulling on the lower back all the time. So get the hamstrings worked, get those freed up, get the quads worked, get those freed up. A full-blown lower body routine is absolutely crucial. So hopefully by this point, you should know how to set up, what the movement looks like, the range of movement that you're looking like, as well as some injury prevention. And keep yourself safe. Enjoy the way that you lift. This is not a race to get as much load on this bar as possible. What you are looking for is to enjoy what you're doing, get to where you want to be, and know that you've still got small elements all the time to look at how you progress. Every time you take a step up with the weight, reassess how you're doing things. Take a video of your form. Make sure that you reassess how that looks. If there's some small adaptations that need to be made, make sure you're making them. Hope this video helps.